Space mechanic repairs abandoned ship, but finds the crew trapped inside, begging for rescue. Marcus Chen floated through the debris field, his modified salvage suit's thrusters making minute adjustments as he approached the derelict vessel. The Serenity's Dawn hung motionless against the star-speckled void, her hull scarred by micrometeorite impacts and radiation burns. According to the salvage beacon, she'd been drifting for 3 standard months. Just another day at the office, Marcus muttered into his comm, though no one was listening on the other end. His partner Jake was back on their salvage ship Redemption, monitoring from a safe distance. The Galaxy Salvage Guild paid well for restored vessels, and the Dawn looked like she had good bones beneath the damage. As Marcus docked with the airlock, his helmet's HUD displayed atmospheric readings from inside the ship. Minimal power, failing life support, but surprisingly, traces of oxygen remained in several compartments. Either the crew had done an exceptional job with emergency protocols before abandoning ship, or the airlock cycled with a wheeze of ancient machinery. Marcus stepped inside, his suit's lights cutting through the darkness. Emergency strips along the corridor floor flickered intermittently, casting eerie shadows on the bulkheads. His boots, magnetized to the deck plating with soft clicks as he made his way toward the bridge. Redemption? I'm inside. Ship's in better condition than expected. Looks like the crew managed a controlled shutdown before evacuation. Marcus paused, studying his scanner readings. That's weird. I'm getting life sign readings, but they're inconsistent. Jake's voice crackled through the comm. Inconsistent how? Like they're there, but not there. Could be interference from the ship's failing systems. Marcus continued deeper into the vessel, following the main corridor toward the engine compartment. The Dawn was a standard long-haul freighter, built for reliability rather than speed. As he passed crew quarters, he noticed personal belongings still secured in their places. Photos, books, small mementos. The crew had left in a hurry, but they'd followed evacuation protocols. The engine room told a different story. Scorch marks along the walls indicated a plasma conduit failure, likely catastrophic. But what caught Marcus's attention was the jury-rigged containment field surrounding the main reactor core. Someone had worked frantically to prevent a complete meltdown, buying time for evacuation. Whoever their engineer was, they knew their stuff, Marcus said, examining the improvised repairs. This containment field is genius-level work, held together with spare parts and determination. As he worked to stabilize the reactor for transport, Marcus heard something that made his blood freeze. A faint tapping sound, rhythmic and deliberate. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. SOS. Jake, are you hearing this? Hearing what? Your comms are cutting out intermittently. Marcus followed the sound through the ship's corridors, his heart rate climbing. The tapping led him to a sealed section near the cargo hold, where his scanner showed the strongest life sign readings. But according to the ship's schematics, this area should be empty storage. The tapping grew louder as he approached a reinforced bulkhead. Marcus examined the door controls. They were locked from the inside, but the electronic systems were failing. Using his plasma cutter, he carefully worked through the locking mechanism. The door slid open with a groan of protesting metal, and Marcus's lights illuminated a sight that would haunt him forever. 5 crew members floated in the small compartment, their eyes wide with desperation and relief. They were alive, but barely, gaunt from months of rationed supplies and failing life support. "Please," whispered Captain Sarah Chen, her voice hoarse. "We've been trapped since the reactor breach. The emergency bulkhead sealed us in when we were trying to save the cargo." Marcus stared at the family name on her uniform, his mind reeling. Chen, his sister, lost 3 months ago when the Serenity's Dawn went missing during a routine cargo run. "Sarah?" Marcus's voice broke. "It's me. It's Marcus." The reunion was brief but intense. Sarah explained how the plasma conduit failure had triggered emergency protocols, sealing them in the cargo section to protect the ship's experimental medical supplies, vaccines destined for a plague-stricken colony world. They'd survived on emergency rations and recycled air, hoping against hope for rescue. "We couldn't abandon the ship," Sarah said as Marcus worked to restore power to their section. "Those vaccines are the only hope for New Terra colony. Millions of lives depend on them." Marcus felt a surge of pride in his sister and her crew. They'd chosen to risk their own lives rather than abandon their mission. It was exactly the kind of stubborn heroism that defined humanity among the galaxy's species. "Jake, prep the redemption for medical emergency. I've got 5 survivors who need immediate attention." Marcus's fingers flew over his portable repair kit, rerouting power and restoring life support to the trapped section. "And contact the Colonial Medical Authority. Tell them the New Terra vaccines are secure." As life support systems hummed back to life, Marcus helped his sister and her crew prepare for transport. The Serenity's Dawn would need extensive repairs, but she was salvageable. More importantly, her mission could still be completed. "How did you end up here?" Sarah asked, as they waited for Jake to bring redemption alongside. Marcus smiled behind his helmet visor. "Lucky coincidence. I'm a salvage operator now. Turns out all those years watching you tinker with engines paid off." "You always were the stubborn one in the family," Sarah laughed weakly, never knowing when to give up. "Learned from the best," Marcus replied. "Besides, someone has to keep my big sister out of trouble." Hours later, as the Redemption jumped to hyperspace with the rescued crew and precious cargo aboard, Marcus reflected on humanity's greatest strength. It wasn't their technology or military might. It was their refusal to abandon each other, their willingness to sacrifice everything for a cause greater than themselves. In a galaxy full of species that prized individual survival above all else, humans remained stubbornly, magnificently, impossibly loyal to one another. Even floating alone in the dark between stars, they never stopped hoping, never stopped fighting, and never stopped believing that someone would come for them. And sometimes, Marcus thought with a smile, that someone turned out to be family.